everybody, Chico and Poppy Show with Poppy here, getting ready to cook. We are making today Chicken Marsala with the fresh mushrooms, and we're going to get started right away. I have 1 pound of mushrooms I've sliced, and like I've told you in the past, you want to have them a little bit thicker than, you don't want to make them super thin, you want them to be a little bit thicker because you want to taste the mushroom. Okay, I have 1 large onion here and that I've cut in strips, kind of like a julienne there. Alright, I have about 4 cups of beef broth, but I've showed you before, it's a real good, real beef broth. Okay, I've taken about 4 chicken breasts and I've pounded these out thin, not super thin, but with this here, I want to taste the chicken a little bit, and we're going to slow cook it just a little bit, so I went about 1/4 inch thick here like this. I have some flour here as a binding agent, and always remember that with the flour you want to add a little bit of salt and pepper to it. Don't go with just regular flour. Like I've told you before, everything is layers, okay? So what I'm going to do here, our pan is nice and hot. I put some olive oil in there. We're going to get started right away. Hi, Chico. We're going to start browning up this chicken, okay? Get some more noodles. I have lots of chicken here, probably more than I need. I only put a little bit of salt and pepper here in the flour, but you always want to remember that everything is in layers, so you know, each little part like that you do will give you another layer of flavor. And you'll miss out on that if you don't put anything in that salt and pepper, or in that flour. And I put just a little bit of salt and pepper in there. I don't like to use too much pepper because the family doesn't like the spice. Once you can taste the pepper lots of times. Yeah, you and Angelina are getting a little bit better at it, but... Alright, so we're going to do a light brown on these. This recipe originally, as soon as I got done browning everything and added all the juices, it was ready to serve. What I like to do with this now is I like to, after everything's done, I like to put a cover on this and just let it simmer a little bit, and this chicken will be a little more tender. And you don't have to do that, but I've enjoyed doing that now. It makes the chicken just a little bit more tender than it would be if you didn't do that. Not required. As a matter of fact, when I started doing that, I've increased the amount of chicken, the amount of broth that I have, so that it'll all be submersed, so that I can do that on a slower cook. We're going to put this over thin spaghetti, which I've cooked already. Chico's been sampling some of it there. And then, like I've told you before, I keep the hot water on a low here, and when it's time, all we have to do is bring that back to life. You put it in the water just for a couple minutes, brings it back to life. And if you have company over, you don't have to be cooking a whole pound of spaghetti while they're all here. You have it all done. Prep ahead of time. It's what you do with the restaurant. Make sure you have enough oil in the pan here. You can see I keep adding some. A lot of times I'll take a chicken breast and you have to clean it. When I say clean it, it's not just washing it under the water. It's that you want to cut off the fat off of there. There's always a piece of grizzle over on the side. You want to cut that out of there. And then what I find that the best way of pounding these is to kind of butterfly them open. And once you butterfly them open, then you can cut that into 2 pieces and then pound it out. I find that works better than if you just try to pound a whole chicken breast. Yeah. You've seen me do it 100 times. No, because I'm not cooking it 100% right now because we're going to finish it off later. That's pretty much what I was just telling them, is that we're going to... that's right. You wouldn't die, but it's not healthy to do it. You could get sick, yeah. There's some recipes that I make that the chicken is, I cook it all the way up the first time. But this, when we get all done and we add our broth, then we're going to slow cook it a little bit, and that'll finish it off. Yeah, sometimes They're the ones I give you and Angelina. The smaller ones.
But I eat more than that.
Well, we'll have plenty, so. Like I was telling Chico, I don't like my sauces very thick. You know, like a stew would be. I don't like them like that. I want to be able to taste the broth. So like with this marsala, I want to be able to taste that. I don't want it to be thick. So even though I have flour on this chicken, I'm going to make sure with my ratio that it's not going to be a very thick sauce. I personally don't like that. All right, this chicken is just about done. When we finish this, we're going to go right on to the mushrooms, okay? Just got to brown this other side. And we're getting a lot of flavor in this pan, you see. So when we get all done and we add our broth to this pan, all those flavors are going to come out again. Layers and layers of flavor. And because we put some spices, the salt and pepper in our flour, that's in there as well. The olive oil flavor, a little bit of browning here that you're getting here from the chicken is going to be in that pan. This is just about ready. Okay, going to add a little bit more olive oil. We're going to go right straight to our mushrooms. Now, I've told you before, mushrooms, you want to have a little bit of thickness to them. You don't want to have them super thick, but you can see here. Alright, and the one thing you want to do, I told you before here, you want to clean these. And cleaning does not mean washing them in the sink with water because the mushrooms have a lot of water in them already. So what you should do is you wipe them down. All you got to do is just lightly wipe these down before you cut them. And that's how you clean these. If you don't, they'll be gritty. Okay? And at some point, the water is going to come out of these mushrooms out as we're cooking them. Alright, and one way to help break these down, you want to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Not only will that add to the layers of flavor, but it'll help break down this mushroom. Got to be a little careful to add too much olive oil in this because it looks like it's dry, and then all of a sudden the water is going to start coming out of these mushrooms. You got to be a little careful. I know a few of you have said before, boy, you use a lot of garlic. But this is one that I don't. You don't want every recipe to taste the same. So you have to change your recipes. Each should be a little bit different from the other. You don't want to always be using the same ingredients in every recipe. These mushrooms, we're not going to cook them to death because I want to be able to taste them. So these are almost ready. I want to just get a little bit of browning on them. These mushrooms are going to be adding to the pan of flavor. You could almost add a little bit, you could almost do a little bit more mushrooms with this recipe. The mushrooms seem to, once they're cooked, they almost seem to disappear. And you could easily, with the 4 mushrooms or the 4 chicken breasts, you could easily go with almost another pound of mushrooms. Running out of room over here. Okay, the mushrooms are done. Yeah, I could easily have done more mushrooms. Alright, this was a real large onion. I probably won't use all that onion, but I'm going to cook it anyways, and then we'll take a look at it when we add everything together. Once these onions are done, we're going to add the chicken back into the pan. We're going to add the mushrooms and onions into the pan, and then we're going to add our broth. And we're going to put a cover on this, and we're going to just let it simmer on low for half an hour, 45 minutes. I mean, you could do it longer. My mother, she does this recipe, and she does it in, she browns everything up, and then she does it in a crock pot, so that when she's out, when she comes home, it'll all be done. I'm not a real big crock pot cooker, but my mom is, and she does it with the ossobuco recipe that I have, and she loves doing it. She can do it all ahead of time. Sirloin chips she does in the crock pot. So if that's your thing, these are good recipes for that. Now you guys, I'm always telling you that, you know, we need your help here, so always subscribe, you know, tell your friends, hit the bell down below, and it'll give you notifications on when we're going to be posting stuff. I've been trying to do something almost every day or every other day. And then leave comments. Tell me how these recipes went. And like I always tell you, a lot of these you have to modify them here and there. All of a sudden, if your chicken is a little bit thicker than the way I did mine, or say you didn't have as much chicken and you're going to have more broth or not enough broth, I want to know. Let me know how your recipes turned out. And if there's something that you did, if you modified yours a little bit like I've done mine after time, let me know. Maybe you came up with something that's going to help kick these up another notch. So. All right, these onions, we don't want these onions cooked to death either because we're going to be slow cooking them, but I want to get a little bit of brown to them. Looks like I probably have too much onion, which is what I figured. Okay, this onion is done. Let's see what I'll do. I think I'm going to keep these separate. I'm not going to put them right in with those mushrooms, so that I can get the right ratio that I want. Alright, I've been cooking this on high. You don't have to cook it on high. I mean, that's something that I do because I've been doing this for 100 years. But you might want to do it on like a medium to high. I'm going to bring it down now lower. I'm going to put the chicken back in the pan. I have lots of chicken. Really don't need this much, but it's kind of good if you're going to do this. I mean, you can have it for lunches and stuff. Mercy will eat this for some of her lunches the next couple days. You can see some of the juice that came off of that chicken just by resting. I'm going to put that right in there. All right. Add our mushroom. Smells wonderful. Okay. Let's see what we're going to do here with the onions. I could use it all, but I'm going to just reserve that little bit there. Okay. Now I got 4 cups. Almost. You got to remember, you want a lot of extra broth because you're going to be putting it not only over the chicken and the mushrooms and the onions, but you're going to be putting it over the spaghetti when it's time to serve. All right, I'm going to move this around a little bit, and all of the crunchies and all the marks that are down there on the bottom of the pan is all going to come off now. And it's going to add to the layers of flavor. The flour that's on the chicken is going to slowly start to cook off, and it's going to thicken this. Alright, we got to add a little bit of our marsala. Now it's 4 cups of beef broth. I do a 1/2 cup of the marsala. Alright, and like I said, you might want to start out, like maybe go a little bit less than that. You can always add some more later. And then, like I said, once it cooks down a little bit, taste it. But I think this is pretty conservative, the 4 cups of broth to the 1/2 cup of marsala. I might add a little bit more later, but I think this is going to be perfect for you guys. Alright, so we have this now on a low simmer. I'm going to put a cover on this, and we're going to let this slow cook for at least a 1/2 hour. I mean, if I can let it go an hour, the chicken will be even more tender. Okay?
1 hour later.
Okay, so this has been slow cooking, 45 minutes or so. I've given this a little taste. My measurements are perfect. I don't have to adjust this at all. Alright, I told you that I've cooked the pasta ahead of time. Always remember to do it in an al dente, where it's a little bit firm. And I'm going to just put this right back into a low simmer water, and that's going to bring this pasta right back to life again. You see, take you 2 seconds. This is just what they do in the restaurant, so that you don't have to wait 20 minutes every time they have an order. Okay, so I'm just going to take this pasta out. We can fix our plate. For you? And here Chico. He's always around when it's time to eat. Alright? So we're going to put our pasta down here first, like that. Alright. This plate's probably going to be mine. This is a bigger bowl. But you can see here, guys. Can you see the piece of chicken here? So we're going to put that on top. This is a slotted spoon. So then we're going to find... I know you're not big on the mushrooms and onions, but I am. You see?
I think you can eat that plate.
You see? So you put the mushrooms you want on there. And then, where's our spoon? Our big spoon. Did I lose
It's
it?
right there.
Wait, no, I need a big one.
To eat it?
No, to get all this good juice. So you want to have a lot of juice on here because that's what's going to be all over your spaghetti as well, you see. So you put a lot on there, like that, you see. And then the only other thing I would do is I would just decorate it, which I don't do on yours, with a little bit of fresh parsley. There it is. You see it, guys? Chicken Marsala. I use a thin spaghetti with this. You can use a thicker one if you want, but anytime you have a thinner kind of juice, usually you would use a thinner kind of spaghetti.
It smells so good.
They smell good, right? Remember what Grandma Jen used to always say, enjoy your life every day. And
your
food. And your food, that's right.
Ciao.
Okay, so until next time, we'll see you later. Ciao. Okay. Gotta fix your plate now, right? You can't have one that. You want one like that? Oh, okay, I'll get you.
Mama, not your boy.
Montagne per valloni, con le nevi e salioni al concerto di tromboni, di bombarde e di cannoni, che le porre tutti i tuoni all'orecchio fan fischiar. Non più avrai quei pennacchi, non più avrai quel cappello, non più avrai quella chioma, non più avrai quell'aria brillante.